Hello everyone, I wanted to make a video where I look at the new Hytale creative mode gameplay and analyze the Machinima tools. So, first of all, we got a camera item. I think if I remember correctly, it's called Machinima tools. And now we see the menu. So, instantly in the Machinima tab. Okay, so this says fly test, and there's a plus, a delete, there's an arrow to see more, save, configuration, and help. So I'll assume this is like a scene that you can create. And here we got the timeline. The plus is probably for adding an actor. This is probably for looping, this for play, and this, I don't know. Here we see ticks or frames or seconds or something. And here on the right we have properties and events. I'll assume you can configure and add those if you have a keyframe selected. Okay, yeah, it says add actor. And what do we got? Okay, reference, camera, entity, item, player. Reference, no idea what that's supposed to be. Camera, we'll see in a second. Item, probably an item that just lies on the ground. Or maybe it's a way to add a model, a custom model. But what is the difference between entity and player? We know that it's possible to record your movement and play that back with the Machinima tools, which is also how Blockbuster mod and BBS mod work in Minecraft. So would this be entity or player? Because now that I see this, maybe entity is that you can record your movement and play it back as any entity model, including the player model. So maybe player is the actual player that triggered the cutscene. Like if you're building an adventure map, maybe you can make cutscenes, and if you select player, then it's gonna be the actual player playing the adventure map, and their avatar is gonna be used. So maybe that's the difference between player and entity, because otherwise I'm not sure why they would need to distinguish between those. And I have no idea what reference could be. Okay, now we see they're just gonna be here in a big column, and there's just simple keyframes. Okay. Also, everything's gotten green. I'll assume that's just an in-world thing showing that there's a camera keyframe there. Yeah. So we see that I assume that you can use this menu to create keyframes, and if you were to select this keyframe, you could probably on properties here select the coordinates and the yaw and pitch and the focal length and stuff like that, and depth of field probably too. But there's also, because it's probably used a lot, an easy way to add new camera keyframes. What is exception running command .mckey, unable to add new keyframe, one already exists at that point in time. Okay, yeah, so it says frame 0 up here, so it's frames. Okay, that's good to know. How do you go forward though? How can you go forward in the frames? Okay, so you can just select that and move it around. That's good to know. Okay, now added key at frame 30. So was that the same command, or did they change the command? Because now we're at frame 30. Okay, so maybe I thought it would be just that there's like shortcuts you can use to fly around a bit, and you press them and keyframes are gonna be automatically created with a certain delay, but maybe you have to specify the time in the command, like at what frame it happens. Now it's 60, and now it's 90. It's always 30 And I doubt they set up that many shortcuts, so maybe there still is a button that you can just use to add a keyframe for the camera at your current position that's 30 frames after the last one. And we'll see that better in a second, but there was already the line kind of going out, so it's automatically interpolated in a pathway. You know, there's 2 here. So it just rests there. And now, when it starts, we see it's super fast, but we see that it's very interpolated already. It's not just going straight from one point to the next, it's interpolating to make smoother movement, which also causes this. It didn't stop at the ending position. If this is the ending position, it didn't stop there, it went boop, and then. So this is good if you want to set up like paths and makes that really easy. But if you're trying to just generally make a camera, then I'd hope you can change that interpolation. I mean, you probably can. There's an entire keyframe menu, so probably you have full control over it. It's probably just on the properties tab we saw earlier that, where is it? Here, I think if you select this keyframe, you can change the things of the keyframe, like for camera it would be position and angle, but also you can probably change the interpolation here. And events, I think, is, let's go to the announcement trailer for that. Here, we can see, okay, so I think the computer, the cables, the pads here, they're just decoration, because we know there's no like automation in Hytale. The actual things here are these boxes. For example, here we see that a character is going over the rail, but that's just for effect, because if we go through it, we see that here is the actual camera. This is the actual camera. And this is what it's showing. This is just decoration, we can ignore that. The same with the cables, probably, and the computer, that's all probably just decoration. Because these pads aren't what causes these explosions here. Those boxes here are probably what causes those explosions. And I think those are what these events are. That you can add a keyframe, and on that keyframe you can trigger an event, and these are probably the things that show where that event is, or that let you set it up, something like that. For example, here we see, here are these boxes, and in a second, yeah, here, there's an explosion right at the box. The green boxes are the camera. I think the boxes we just saw were a slightly different camera. Maybe, I mean, this is from 2025 using a build from 2021, and what we just saw was 2018, so probably changed. Okay, now here we see, this I find interesting, because the commands we saw for building all use slash, but the Machinima commands use dot. So maybe slash commands are for executing commands and dot commands are for changing settings? Just a guess. Okay, but speed was set to 2. What does that mean? Okay, it's slower. I'm just not sure what the dots mean. But here's the actual character standing. The character is not invisible during the camera playback, so I think that the player entity is probably if you want to animate that. It would just be curious to know how that works with multiplayer. Like, if I'm correct that that just uses the player that triggered the cutscene. What about multiplayer adventure maps? Can you use multiple players? How do you set that up? And it goes for the blocks. Happens to all of us. Also, side note, but the health and energy have this bluish look, and we saw that in a couple other videos too. I wonder if that's just showing you that you're in creative mode. Okay, now I left the menu. And you can see the entire path here. Oh, so that's interesting. I thought this line here is the little bounce back at the end, but this is the start. Oh! No, is it where the camera looks? The camera's facing the direction? Maybe? Okay, and you see here, in the creative tools, there's an entire tab for Machinima, but currently there's only Machinima tools. We got here creative modes, quick set tool reaches and tool delay, minimum brush opacity. Is there anything interesting here? No. Okay, that's the end of the Machinima stuff, but I got some more. Next, I grabbed a Machinima tool that looks like a camera, and I create a camera actor that allows me to specify keyframes to animate the camera movement. After placing all my keyframes, I can adjust the speed and other settings to get the right control I want. The Machinima tools have a lot more features that aren't displayed in this quick video. Not only are there many features that I don't show in this video for the tool, but the Machinima tools are scheduled for a massive upgrade in functionality and user experience in the coming months after launch. So not a lot there, but curious to see it all. Hey, so I just finished recording and I was in the middle of editing this video, but I noticed some more stuff. So, according to my theory, these light green boxes are like particle boxes probably that you can trigger with events. And we see here this camera. I notice it's a bit hard to see in the video, but if you look at the trailer you can see it. But what I also noticed, this player, or this avatar and this avatar look normal, but this avatar, and this avatar have dark green boxes where they are. So, two theories. Theory 1, maybe there's something like the model block in Blockbuster and BBS that you can just set avatars here and you can configure them and you can give them a pose, but they can't move. And these are normal avatars in the scene that were normally recorded and played back. Or another theory, maybe these are player actors and that's why they can move around, and these are entity actors, so they're only stationary. That's two theories on what that could be. Also, I'm wondering what all those red boxes are, because I don't see nothing. But I noticed something else. There's something else I wanted to talk about as well, because in the blog post we also got this video, which is a building time lapse, 1 hour condensed into 3 minutes. And I wonder how they made that, because it's a time lapse, but it's like smooth camera. It's almost something like, it would seem like there's something like replay mod, like that you can, either there is actually a way to just make time lapses really easy to start recording when you build and then you can play that back later, or they just use the Machinima tools for that and recorded players and the building is safe too. But no matter how it works, there does seem to be a really easy way to make building time lapses with something akin to replay mod. Because I'm not sure if they would use the normal player playback for that. The normal player recording and playback for that, because it's like an hour long, and if something goes wrong and then all the things they built are dead. I also noticed something else for that now, not really related to the Machinima tools, but here it doesn't say player name left or joined the game. It says left default and joined default, so maybe that's like different worlds, because we already saw in the creative mode gameplay that you can go to like prefab world that is separate from the normal world, but still in that save included. So maybe every server can have multiple worlds, like multiverse core on Minecraft is just included in the base game. And you know, if you wanna see someone testing them out day one, I'll be live on launch, hopefully.